1 minute till broadcast. One minute till broadcast. Seconds till broadcast. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Begin transmission.
Fighting for freedom every day.
Let me tell you, the response to the show has been absolutely amazing. People can't believe that a young conservative millennial continues to fight for constitutional principles, traditional values, and talks about issues that some are even afraid to talk about. But we do it because we understand the importance of this. And now we're seeing it absolutely blow up all across the nation.
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Hey, this is the Voice of Reason. Welcome into it. It is a Thursday, the pre-Friday celebration. Can you believe it? We're officially there. Welcome into the program today. We have so much to get to. We have the Democrat National Convention. We have Kamala Harris's speech last night, and I have to ask you, did she win over the crowd that she was appealing to? Did she do it? Was she the great uniter that was supposed to be? I can tell you. Oh, man. We'll play some of the clips from the speech last night and get your thoughts on that one. Welcome in, broadcasting live out of the heart of the nation here on the flagship station of the Big Talker, KQAM, in Wichita, Kansas, on radio, TV, live streaming, on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, Twitter, Twitch, LinkedIn, online at HooserReason.com, the Podbean live stream as well. We are all over the place, and we thank you for hanging out with us here on the show. You can also email us, HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com, HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com. It has been one heck of a week this week. Between the DNC, between all the guests that we've had on the program, it's been really fun. Tomorrow, you're not going to want to miss it. Mark Lauder, he's the head communications director for President Trump's campaign. He'll be joining us on the show. And I've been working really hard behind the scenes because we're going to do our very own interview with Joe Biden. I know, right? So we're going to do our very own interview with Joe Biden. Now, this is not the ordinary type of interview with Joe Biden. And I can give you a little bit of a tease for the interview that we're about to do with Joe Biden. For example, Joe Biden, what's your economic plan?
So you go ahead and you stack spaghetti sauce at a store and in a supermarket. You control the guy or the woman who brings out the carts on a forklift. What happens? They make you management.
All right. The economic plan from Joe Biden. We have compiled many different audio clips in order to do our very own proper Joe Biden interview that we'll do tomorrow. You're not going to want to miss that one. We may play a little bit of it on the show today as well. But I'm excited. Let's get to our guest for the day, because as we talk about economic policy, as we talk about the economy, we talk about COVID-19, will we see a secondary outbreak, which I guess it hasn't really gone away the first time, but an expansion of a quote-unquote secondary outbreak. We're about ready to go to school across the nation. Many schools have already started. We're concerned whether we're going to close down the schools. We're concerned about another economic lockdown of the nation. Is it going to happen, and what could it potentially look like for many of our businesses? We're still struggling with many businesses, so we had to bring her back on the program. She's a great friend. We appreciate her very much with all the insight. She is the president and CEO of the Kansas Global Trade Services. You can find them online at kansasglobal.org. But Karyn Page hanging out with us here on the show again. Karyn, how are you, my friend?
Hi, Andy. I'm doing well. How about you?
I am living the dream. I appreciate you very much coming on the show again. It's crazy times that I know you guys have been trying to adapt and working with many different businesses and clients trying to adapt with the whole COVID thing. Is it getting any easier right now? Have we kind of come to our quote-unquote new norm, or is it still just a struggle every day to keep things rolling?
I think it depends a lot on, what kind of business you're in, what kind of industry, you're serving. For example, I think that folks that are, consulting services, accountants, that kind of thing, lawyers, they're probably, some businesses a little bit off, but they're probably still working. If you're in tech, you're still working. If you're in healthcare, you're still working. But then we have all kinds of other people. I live in Wichita, Kansas, which is the air capital of the world, and aviation is still really depressed. So I think it really depends on where you are. We are seeing more people that we interact with directly that kind of have their head up a little bit more and are looking around. Like they kind of accepted where we are and they're like, okay, not a lot we can do about it. Let's just see how we can move forward. That's actually very encouraging. And that's we've seen a little bit of a change in the past 30 days or so, just sort of that mental attitude. You're seeing the fortitude going, okay, it's not going to go away. Let's just deal with it. So I think that's encouraging.
That is very encouraging, at least, and hopefully more businesses are going to be able to really open up again. Now, the trade-wise, you've talked about it a little bit before when it comes to actually trading internationally, especially. Internally, I think we're doing okay-ish. Internationally, has that been affected more so or less so than just trading domestically with different products or different services? Or I know trade shows, as you mentioned before, has been a huge hit. But outside of that, I mean, where are we looking when it comes to some of the international trade?
Well, exports are down.
Okay.
Because if you just think about this, so traditionally the way you go and get new business is maybe you go to a trade show or maybe you go speak at a conference and then you network, right? And then you go back and forth by email and maybe you invite them to come and view your factory in Lawrence, Kansas. And they go, oh, this is really cool stuff. And then, they buy something. Okay, well, no one's traveling. So or maybe you go over to Europe and you pitch, whatever manufacturing machine you're making, right?
Yeah.
But none of that's happened. So it's become really difficult, and exports are down for sure. Although, we're starting to see it sort of come back up, level up, but it's nowhere near what it was pre-COVID-19. And you have this adjustment to, okay, we can't sell that way anymore. We can't sell that way right now, because we can't get on an airplane. So here's this. This is interesting to me because I'm kind of a nerd when it comes to like processes and systems and how things work. So we're seeing like this change in attitude that people really are like, okay, I'm ready to go. Like it's a good time to fly. No one's flying. It'll be nice, right? But the problem is that depending on where you're coming from and where you're going to, you may have to quarantine 2 weeks on either side. So if you were planning a 2-day business trip, it just became, a month and 2 days, and that's just not doable. So that's part of the, problem we're seeing right now is we're not really able to travel like we used to. So it's quite difficult to move forward in a lot of respects. But we are seeing lots of folks still meet virtually and be open to that idea, at least more so than, in the spring.
Yeah, traveling right now, probably not the most efficient way to do the business, unfortunately. It's nice that it is to actually go out and travel, and there's something about just that person-to-person interaction, shaking the hand, looking them in the eye when you make a business deal in order to do something, but that's kind of gone to the wayside, unfortunately. But I have to say, I guess, when it comes to the other industries, the one that have actually created the virtual types of conference, Zoom and Skype and the other companies like that, I guess their stocks are doing relatively well right now. What do you think?
Yeah, I think if you're in the business of making it easier for people to communicate or work from home or work remotely, I've just spent the last couple of weeks converting to QuickBooks Online, which I'll just confess to you, I am not an accountant, so I don't like any part of this. But we did that so that we can always access, our accounting system from anywhere. And our accountant can do that too, which actually is really more efficient and productive. And I'm sure QuickBooks is probably doing well because more people need to do that. So I think that anyone in those industries, and a friend of ours that I mentioned before, a Wichita company named Quick, QUICC, that builds software that you can do automated text and videos. They're doing really well. So as more companies need to rely on this, digital form of communication, I think any one of those industries is going to fare very well. If you're an augmented reality or virtual reality to just efficiency to data storage to cloud, I think you're going to do, I think those guys are doing really well. Sure. Unfortunately, so many of our local independent, businesses like the restaurants and the coffee shops and those kind of folks are really still suffering. I mean, it just honestly breaks my heart to see so many people on unemployment.
Yeah, it is really sad. And it seems like the industries that they're attacking, the bars, the nightclubs, the restaurants, all over the country where they're trying to shut these things down. It's sad because I don't know why those are any different than if you walk into a big box store, to a Walmart, to a Sam's Club, to a grocery store, and you buy things there, and you're around people. I really just don't understand the difference between those and why we're kind of picking on the little guy. And the ones that really, obviously need the minimum wage or the just above minimum wage paycheck they get just by, being a bartender or being a waitress. It's sad that those are the ones that are suffering and struggling the most. Let's talk about some of the trade in the sense of the last time we talked, the USMCA had just been signed and just been implemented. And I know that we're starting to transition into this new phase of trade with Canada and with Mexico and the United States with this USMCA. The businesses that you work with and the businesses that you talk to, are they excited about this? Is this a good thing, do you think, for a lot of the industries? And how is it going to start transitioning? And what could we start seeing here in the near future?
Well, I'm just going to be real honest with you. I don't think we're going to see big changes in most industries and in most states. And the reason is because USMCA is modernized NAFTA. So we've been using NAFTA for a while, very successfully. And most of my work is in Kansas. I can tell you it's quite good for Kansas producers and manufacturers. So I don't think we're going to see any big bumps. But here's what's good. It provides certainty in a very uncertain climate for businesses in Canada, U.S., and Mexico. And so that, I think, is going to have a positive outcome. So the businesses we've talked to, we're quite pragmatic. I've talked before. I'm kind of just a Kansas, pragmatic gal. So the conversations that we have with companies are kind of like that, where they're like, okay, I used to fill out this form in NAFTA. Now what do I do under USMCA? So it's very pragmatic. But that means they're working, right? They're getting, making sure that they're going to take advantage of it and getting the systems in place at their own places of business so that they can do that, in the right way. So I think we're not going to see a big bump in trade because it was already there. But I think that certainty will really help. And that's what we need right now, Andy. We need some certainty. If we could just help companies and people in general feel a little bit more confident, I think a lot of this would shake loose. But people just are there's too many unknowns right now.
Yeah, well, confidence is a big thing. When Donald Trump got elected back in 2016, the economy was steadily trying to grow after the big recession that we had seen a few years back. But as soon as Donald Trump got elected, just his talk of massive cuts on taxes and regulations and trying to open up markets. The day after he got elected, the market soared and and a lot of businesses began to expand and reinvest. And he didn't even do anything yet. We didn't even know if he'd be able to pass anything with Congress, but just the talk of it and the excitement of it. When we start seeing certainty and actually some stability in the markets with something like this USMCA, and we know that we have a solid document, then I think businesses feel a little bit more comfortable to start expanding and feeling a little more loose, I guess, and trying to venture out and try and create more business.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. And to your point about, when President Trump came into office, I think that's something that we see whenever we have a decision that's made, whether it's, whatever party they're in, the president, whatever party or house they're in. But one of the things that's really problematic is it seems fairly capricious, the actions that are coming out of the White House. For example, just a week or so ago, President Trump, by executive order, reinstated tariffs on aluminum coming from Canada.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, Karyn, let's hold that thought. Let's do that when we come back, because I think that's going to be a big conversation to talk about some of the tariffs and the trade, along with maybe some of the EPA regulations that may stifle some of that as well. So we'll do that as soon as we come back. Got to take a break. We're talking with Karyn Page, president of the Kansas Global Trade Services. We'll do that right here on The Voice of Reason for a Thursday when we come back. Don't go anywhere.
The Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Hey, it's Andy Hooser with The Voice of Reason. Fighting for conservative principles seems more difficult all the time. The progressive left seems to find new and creative ways to limit freedom, abuse power, and trample the Constitution each and every day. That's why we need the knowledge, resources, and common sense to push back, and we can help with that. Visit our website at HooserReason.com. There's some really great stuff for you. You can read the latest blog discussing topical issues and current events. Let us know your thoughts by filling out our monthly survey. Keep track of what I might be doing or where I may be speaking. Listen to the podcast of your favorite guest or show, and check out our latest Voice of Reason product infomercials. Plus, you can find upcoming show schedules and guest lineups to plan your radio listening appropriately. And finally, make sure to become a Hoosier-holic by subscribing to the free newsletter. Stay up to date on the latest news of the show, fun facts of the month, and learn new ways to defend and preserve this great republic. It's all there at HooserReason.com. Again, HooserReason.com. Go check it out. Why? Because it's kind of the reasonable thing to do. Hey, it's Andy Hooser. Want to reach out to the show? A big part of the program is you, and we want to hear from you. Let us know your thoughts of the show, maybe a guest we've had on the program, or my favorite, when you disagree with something that I talk about. You can email me at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com or send us a message through our website at HooserReason.com. The show's not about me, it's about you. So be heard and be your own voice of reason. Again, email me at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com or find our contact information at HooserReason.com. Miss part of the show? Don't worry about it. There's plenty of ways to catch the program, and here's how you can do it. First, make sure to tune in every day right here on your favorite radio station. We're here for you. Second, subscribe to the podcast on any of your favorite sites. YouTube and iTunes, Spotify and Google Play, TuneIn, Podbean, and more. Have the show automatically downloaded to your favorite device. Last, visit our website at HooserReason.com. You can listen to the podcast, catch our special features, and more. It's the Voice of Reason on radio, TV, and online, helping you defend and preserve this great republic. Hey, it's Andy Hooser with The Voice of Reason. The show's growing all the time, and as we talk about the big issues of the day, one of the big parts of the program is you. And I want you to join us on the program. Whether you agree, disagree, or just want to relieve some of that political frustration, we're here for you. No matter where you may be watching, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, go ahead and leave a comment on the live stream. Chat with other listeners and let me know your thoughts on the topic. Also chat with us on the Podbean chat room. Just go to our live stream of the show at podbean.com and chat with other listeners. You can also call into the program. Just download the Podbean app onto your smartphone, join the live stream, and call in through the app. This is your show, and we want to hear your thoughts. So go ahead and join us here on the Voice of Reason and the Hooser Media Network. Hey, miss a show? Don't worry about it. You have plenty of opportunities to watch, listen, learn, and be entertained with the Voice of Reason anytime you want. And here's how you can do it. First, become a Hoosier-holic by going to HooserReason.com and signing up for the show newsletter to get the latest on the show, upcoming guests, topical discussions, and more. Next, subscribe to the podcast and have the show automatically downloaded to any platform you like to use. You can subscribe through any of your favorite platforms with iTunes and Spotify, Google Play and TuneIn, or you can also go and subscribe directly to our Podbean website. Last, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Just go to youtube.com, search Hooser Reason, and subscribe to watch all of our shows, videos, and get notified whenever we're live. All the links and info are at HooserReason.com. For a schedule of upcoming guests on the program, daily show topics, or to reach out to the Hooser Media Network, visit us on the website at HooserReason.com. Or for general inquiries, to be a guest on the program, or to have Andy a guest on your program, email us at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com. Keep fighting for freedom with us every day right here on the Voice of Reason and the Hooser Media Network. Now, back to the show.
You're listening to the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Welcome back into the Voice of Reason. Thanks for hanging out the way you do each and every day. We appreciate that more than you realize each and every day. Trying to cram 10 pounds of reason into a 5-pound bag, trying to rebrand the millennial generation one radio listener at a time, which we try and do each and every day right here. Trying to unveil the layers of the onion, go deeper into discussions than what most radio hosts do, because I think it's important. I am sick and tired of the bumper sticker arguments on politics or economics or philosophy or whatever else. I'm tired of it. No more 130-character tweets on Twitter. We're going to get down to the nitty-gritty, and that's what we do here on the program. So thanks for hanging out with us today. And today, we're doing that with trade and business. If you ever wanted to be a business, maybe you have a business, but want to expand it or want to try and trade more or break out of the domestic stuff and go international, you can do that. And these guys can help you. Kansas Global Trade Services is the president and CEO, is hanging out with us here, Karyn Page. And before we went to break, we were talking about the USMCA, some of the trade with Canada and Mexico. And one of the new tariffs that's kind of made things a little bit more difficult is the aluminum tariff. And I remember hearing about this, I want to say about a year or so ago. They were talking about the aluminum trade with Canada. And as Trump was quote unquote flexing his arms and flexing his muscles on some of the trade that we have with them that caused some issues. So where are we with this aluminum tariff? Is it still intact, and what's going on?
So when the president first came out with this, they're called Section 232 tariffs on aluminum and steel, he kept those tariffs on there for, there's a range of, a whole long list of countries, and he kept them on for Canada and Mexico because it was part of sort of the negotiation for the new USMCA. And so then about a year after he put those tariffs on aluminum and steel imports, he gave an exclusion to Canada and Mexico. And then just a week or so ago, he put them back on for Canada. And I mean, everyone's shaking their head, going, "What in the world's going on here?" So, your intro and the concept for this program I love, because we just do ourselves a disservice when we have these, these television advertisement discussions.
No.
So the real problem is not really Canada. It's actually it is China and other countries like China who undervalue products or subsidize it so they can undervalue and flood the market, right? So I don't know anyone that knows exactly what in the world that's supposed to do or who it's supposed to benefit. And it's quite, just to our previous portion of our conversation when I was talking about certainty. So it was on, then it was off, now it's back on. This really makes companies it kind of drives them crazy.
Yeah.
They don't like the tariffs, of course, but off on, they'd rather have them off. But I don't understand what we're doing putting it back on. This kind of behavior is not really helpful to companies. And so if I could whisper in the ear of President Trump, I'd say, hey, stop doing that. That's not good for small manufacturers.
No, well, I mean, as we just talked about, needing stability in the markets and the opportunity to open it up and open the floodgates for people to be able to trade and do what they want to. I mean, the off and on when it comes to tariffs is very difficult. And again, if we only do it for one country like that, I mean, I don't understand the reasoning for it. I mean, do we do a lot of trade with aluminum, and do we bring a lot in or ship a lot out? Is that really a big industry that we have with Canada? I mean, why single those guys out?
Well, there's some talk that the Canadian aluminum industry was, selling quite a bit to the U.S. But when you look at it in context, it's like a fraction of the total. And here's the other interesting thing. If you go and just Google search, or your listeners go and Google search, aluminum industry in the U.S., right, you're going to find, a couple of great big organizations and an association as well. And those guys are like, we don't need tariffs. This increases the price on everything and actually hurts our workers.
Yeah.
And they are saying that it's very small percentage that's coming in. If you look at the raw export and import numbers, it's a fairly small percentage. And here's the last bit that I find highly
Hold on to that thought. We got to take another hard break here. Don't mean to cut you off, but let's talk about some more regulation with some of those tariffs, plus some of the nations that we have gotten rid of a lot of the tariffs on, like the EU and some of the other goods that we've done with some trade. We'll do that when we come back here on The Voice of Reason for Thursday. Stay right here.
The Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Hey, it's Andy Hooser. While you listen to the delightful broadcast of The Voice of Reason, don't forget to check us out and follow us on all of our social media sites. Whether you're using Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Minds.com, or Instagram, we're there for you. Find us at Hooser Reason on any of your social media platforms. You'll see special commentary, links to the articles and news that we use on the show, and videos of the broadcast. Plus, you can directly send us a message on social media during the show to let me know your thoughts. Many already do, and it's a great chat room for all of our great listeners. And you can always sign up for the Patreon site to get exclusive content, maybe hear show products before we air them on the radio, and a lot more. And when you support us on Patreon, you also help the show be able to fight for conservative values each and every day. So it's a win-win. Just find us at Hooser Reason on all of your social media platforms, or you can find a link to all of our social media sites on our website at HooserReason.com. We know you're on social media already, so bring some reason into your day. Why? Because it's kind of the reasonable thing to do.
The Hooser Media Network is way more than just the voice of reason. It's your source to find numerous different online talk shows, podcasts, TV, and radio programs, all in one simple online location for you. From political talk to health talk to whatever you may be interested in, we're here for you. And I tell you, it's growing every day. Catch Tracy Maxfield with her podcast Engage, Educate, and Empower, discussing mental health issues in children and teenagers. From bullying, teenage suicide, addiction, ADHD, and so much more, learn from Tracy and her guests about symptoms, signs, and ways to talk to your children, plus so much more. Having battled depression, being the author of the internationally acclaimed book Escaping the Rabbit Hole, and being a retired nurse, Tracy is kind of the go-to on the subject. Make sure to find her on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, along with her website at tracymaxfield.com. Also, make sure to tune into the weekly podcast Jump, Pivot, and Roll with Shannon Stiles and Rachel Murphy. Taking that next big leap of faith is hard. Trying to write a book, maybe struggling with a relationship, looking to take that next big career step. What's stopping you? There's a lot of big questions there, and they're questions that Rachel and Shannon want to help with you each and every week. It's Jump, Pivot, and Roll on any of your favorite podcasting sites and on Facebook and YouTube. All of these shows and a heck of a lot more can be found on the Hooser Media Network Facebook and YouTube channels. Make sure to follow and subscribe to check them out today. Follow all the shows, and if you have any inquiries, check us out at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com. Hey, miss a show? Don't worry about it. You have plenty of opportunities to watch, listen, learn, and be entertained with The Voice of Reason anytime you want. And here's how you can do it. First, become a Hooserholic by going to HooserReason.com and signing up for the show newsletter to get the latest on the show, upcoming guests, topical discussions, and more. Next, subscribe to the podcast and have the show automatically downloaded to any platform you like to use. You can subscribe through any of your favorite platforms with iTunes and Spotify, Google Play and TuneIn, or you can also go and subscribe directly to our Podbean website. Last, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Just go to youtube.com, search Hooser Reason, and subscribe to watch all of our shows, videos, and get notified whenever we're live. All the links and info are at HooserReason.com. Oh, hi. You know, conservative messages now are more important than ever before. Election season, state legislative issues, and a rise in the radical left socialist progressive agenda. What we really need now more than ever before is knowledge and wisdom. That's where we come in. Hi, I'm Andy Hooser with The Voice of Reason, and I'm your voice for reasonable talk, conservative commentary, great guests and entertainment on radio, TV, and the internet. It's time to bring some common sense back into the discussion. National issues, state legislative issues, no matter where you may be, upcoming elections, and a heck of a lot more, we can bring traditional values, constitutional principles, and local activism back. And here's what you can do. First, follow us on all the social media platforms at Hooser Reason. You can watch the live stream of the show, leave comments, and even call into the program. Second, make sure to subscribe to the podcast on all of your audio devices, From iTunes and Spotify to Google Play and TuneIn, make sure to subscribe to have every episode automatically downloaded so you don't miss a single episode. Third, make sure to visit our website at HooserReason.com. You can catch our monthly blog talking about deeper discussions, see who's coming on the program, plus you can sign up for our free monthly newsletter to catch the latest on the show, monthly topics, upcoming interviews, and more. It's time to be that local activist again. That's what the Voice of Reason's all about. Why? Because that's kind of the reasonable thing to do. And it's time for you to speak up, speak out, speak loud, speak proud, speak the truth, and always speak some reason.
Hey, it's Andy Hooser with the Voice of Reason. The show's growing all the time, and as we talk about the big issues of the day, one of the big parts of the program is you. And I want you to join us on the program. Whether you agree, disagree, or just want to relieve some of that political frustration, we're here for you. No matter where you may be watching, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, go ahead and leave a comment on the live stream. Chat with other listeners and let me know your thoughts on the topic. Also chat with us on the Podbean chat room. Just go to our live stream of the show at podbean.com and chat with other listeners. You can also call into the program. Just download the Podbean app onto your smartphone, join the live stream, and call in through the app. This is your show, and we want to hear your thoughts. So go ahead and join us here on the Voice of Reason and the Hooser Media Network.
When Reason Meets Radio. You're listening to the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
I gotta say, the show goes by way too fast. Already half over. Just when you start getting into the good stuff, then you gotta stop, and that's what we try and do. So, hey, we try and get as much in and cram as much in as we possibly can. Welcome into the Voice of Reason, radio, TV, live streaming on the website at HooserReason.com, which, by the way, if you have not done so yet, we are getting close to the end of the month again. Become a Hooserholic. It's free. Just go to HooserReason.com. That's Hooser without an I. No I in there, because there's no I in Hooser. There is an I in I, however. See, that's called a joke. Go to HooserReason.com. It'll pop up, say, do you want to become a Hooserholic? And you say, heck yeah, I do. And you sign up. Put in your email address. We don't spam you all the time. We'll just send you a monthly newsletter. We'll send you a welcome email saying thanks for being with us, and then we'll send you a monthly newsletter talking about topical issues. We'll talk about maybe the blog of the month with some deeper discussion on some of the issues that we talk about here on the air, what's coming up on the show with some great guests, what we've done the last month on the show with some great guests in conversations that we've had, along with the latest and greatest in what we're doing with the Hooser Media Network, which is growing and expanding. We have some more cool projects in line with the Hooser Media Network here coming up as well. More information coming up very soon, so make sure to check it out. But go to HooserReason.com, sign up for the newsletter, and become a Hooserholic, because why the heck not? You know, on the phone with us here, we have another segment with her, and I'm excited. She is the president and CEO of the Kansas Global Trade Services, Karyn Page, hanging out with us. And we were talking about the aluminum, which before we get back to the aluminum, I have to ask, now that the USMCA is active, are we not having to worry about an avocado shortage coming up from Mexico? Because I know that was a big concern a couple of years back.
I hope not. I like avocados.
I remember the headlines. They were like, oh, there's going to be an avocado shortage. And I think it was about the time Trump was talking about building the wall or something. And I said, oh, there's going to be an avocado shortage, and everybody who likes guacamole, it's going to run out, and everybody needed to panic over the avocado shortage. So I'm hoping we rectified that situation.
You know, Andy, people like me who deal in details every day, we're always struggling to find something that we can use to explain simply, you know, something that seems quite complicated. So I think avocados took the hit for that. But I was on a call recently with some of our friends from Canada and Mexico, that lovely folks from the consulate who were, you know, doing a great job to help us promote the USMCA and answer questions. And our friends from Canada were using an example of a cheeseburger as in showing the global integrated where everything comes from. And our friend from the Mexican consulate said, I just want to point out that an avocado is excellent on a cheeseburger, and everyone just lost their mind.
That's outstanding. Well, and it's true, though, too. I have to admit, when we make the hamburgers at home, the wife puts the avocado on there. So that is a way to bring all the cultures together between the beef of America,
Right.
the trade of Canada, and the guacamole and the avocados of Mexico. And that is a beautiful way for us to work together. I love it. I love it.
Right. And we won't go hungry either.
And
It's
we won't
perfect.
go hungry. That's right. We'll all be able to walk away happy and full at the end of the day. So let's talk about some of the trade with Canada. As you mentioned, you do a lot of business with Canada right now, and the aluminum trade, or the aluminum tariff that's been off and on kind of going right now. Are there any other tariffs that we're talking about that have been kind of going up and down? I know Trump had mentioned, this is a year or two back, but talking about the tariffs and the punishment on different automobiles coming up from Mexico, and it talked about some other tariffs that we had actually gotten rid of with the European Union. Those types of discussions, and of course what we're doing with the whole butting the heads with Russia and China right now, is that stuff helping or hurting the trade right now, and maybe in Europe with boosting trade, with the fact that we don't have as many tariffs, or with the aluminum tariff that may be affecting Canada, or the auto industry coming up from Mexico? I mean, where does this all fall in the place of, is it helping or hurting businesses right now?
So I just have full disclosure. You'll never hear me say that tariffs are good. I just can't get it. I just don't understand. And here's why. A tariff is a fancy word for tax.
Yes.
And I don't know anyone, including myself, that likes more taxes. I just can't get my head wrapped around it. So, I mean, when we take tariffs off, or we just don't put them on to begin with, this is going to be a better thing. However, part of the Trump administration strategy is actually where there's issues, for example, with China, to start kind of hitting back, right, to hit hard. And that's why there's tariffs on, certain products from China. I don't know that sweeping tariffs, though, are really the most effective tool. In fact, I would probably tell you that they're just not. There's actually probably more surgical tools that might get a better impact. But I understand where he's coming from. I understand what the strategy is. I just don't think it's the best solution. And again, the reason is higher taxes, I'm just not a fan of. I just don't like higher taxes. And so, it's one of those things that becomes a hidden tax for consumers. So when we put tariffs on imported goods that go into the manufacture of other stuff we buy, eventually it's going to cost us more. And that's just not really something I think any of us really like.
No, I'm sure most businesses don't like that. They don't want to do anything with tariffs, and I'm sure it makes it difficult for them because they have to raise their goods and prices, whether it's raw material or the final product. I mean, it just makes everything more expensive from the day that we actually do that. Now, let's talk about like the European Union. Right now, we had Brexit with the United Kingdom kind of branching off and breaking away from there. And because they didn't like a lot of those regulations, is there opportunity for businesses to work directly now with the UK and actually be able to create some more trade there as opposed to going through the European Union to kind of route back to the UK that way?
Yeah, actually, I think it's very promising. And the International Trade Administration and U.S. Trade Representative Office have really been working for a long time, much longer than pre-Brexit, to and anticipate having a free trade agreement between the U.S. and the U.K. And so, but just because now we have Brexit and they've broken away from the EU, that doesn't mean that we don't still have to deal with that when we're talking to the UK. And the reason is because obviously UK has ties to the EU.
Sure.
And they don't, they have to manage that as well. So we're trying to influence our friends in the UK to fully break away from the EU over regulation. So cross your fingers, we'll be successful more than not on those negotiations. But I think there will be opportunities. And the most problematic area, Andy, that we see for a lot of small businesses when we're talking about EU, for example, is they're really crazy about their regulatory environment in terms of like certifications and standards and everything. It's just highly complicated and very much a lot of barriers there. So if we can break the UK away from that EU kind of view, that would be really good for businesses. That
would be really good. I mean, that's, I think, why the UK wanted to do their Brexit in the first place, wasn't it? I mean, I remember the example they kept bringing up during their arguments was, there's a 2,000-page regulation book on how to trade cabbage across country lines here. We don't want to deal with this garbage anymore. And that's what I think a lot of people are frustrated with.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like, I feel the same way about regulations, overburdensome regulations and bureaucracy that I do about taxes. It just makes my head hurt. I don't know if you can hear it in my voice, but it just actually makes my head hurt. I don't want, could you please just simple is better. Obviously, have some good reasons for regulation when we absolutely need to be protected from ourselves. But overall, I just, let's make it easier to do business, which makes me think of another thing. We were talking about aluminum.
Yeah.
I get to why we have tariffs, right? So one of the reasons for tariffs is to protect an industry or allow an industry to regrow. And that's one of the strategies apparently behind the aluminum tariffs from the Trump administration. But here's the thing. I was talking to someone recently, and they were saying that the EPA regulations or the environmental regulations are really hindering the rebirth of aluminum industry and steel industry. So I'm really trying to get my head wrapped around that one. So we put tariffs on it to help the industry, but then we still have too many regulations, so we can't regrow it. It needs some fixing, I think.
Well, that's the politics in the government that falls into that one. I don't understand that at all. I'm right there with you on the taxes, on the regulation, and especially the Environmental Protection Agency. I worked in construction for a very small time, and the EPA regulations to do a construction project, just like an overlay for a repaving of a highway or something, has the most ridiculous, dumb, absurd EPA regulations where it costs almost more money to contain everything they want to than it is to actually just do the project. And I think that, I can only assume that EPA regulations are like that on just about every industry they try and put their finger on.
Yeah, I am definitely not, and I don't really know anything about EPA regulations. I can just, basically understand, what the issues are. And like you, having worked with a lot of industries, I can, figure out what it probably are. But you know what? I think I just have to believe that we're just not regulating just to regulate. I kind of think there's a lot of layer after layer after layer of regulations, and nothing ever gets, cleaned up and organized. And how we fix that, I have no idea, Andy. But if I thought I could actually come up with some sort of solution that would make, the bureaucracies less bureaucratic and more efficient, or minimize them or whatever, I would totally run for office. But since I don't have any answers, I just sit over here and fuss and try to help companies best I can.
Well, and that's all you can do. Sometimes you just got to sit back and just trying to roll with the punches the best that you can. We got about 45 seconds before we got to let you go. But if people want to get a hold of you guys at the Kansas Global Trade Services, if they're interested in trying to trade or grow their business, how can they get a hold of you guys?
So you can find us at www.kansasglobal.org, or you can call us at 316-264-5982, or email me at page@kansasglobal.org, or call Andy and he'll send you over.
We can direct. That's right. We can direct. No, we appreciate it very much. It's such great information, and it bleeds so much into politics with trade and with business, and especially right now with the pandemic. That's why we love having you on here, and we appreciate the time very much. So we're gonna get you back on about a monthly basis here and kind of get another update.
I love it. Thanks so much, Andy, and I hope your listeners got something out of it, and I certainly love spending time with you.
Hey,
have a good evening.
You as well. Yeah, it's always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. All right, we'll take a break. We got one more segment. When we come back, we'll retouch on Kamala Harris's speech from the Democrat National Convention last night. Did she unite the party the way that she needed to? The biggest speech of her career is what the media was saying. So did she hit that home run or not? We'll talk about that. Plus, get your conversation. We got a lot of chatter going on the social media regarding the conversation that we just had. So we'll cover all that and more. One more left here on The Voice of Reason on a Thursday. Stay tuned.
The Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Hey, it's Andy Hooser. While you listen to the delightful broadcast of The Voice of Reason, don't forget to check us out and follow us on all of our social media sites. Whether you're using Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Minds.com, or Instagram, we're there for you. Find us at Hooser Reason on any of your social media platforms. You'll see special commentary, links to the articles and news that we use on the show, and videos of the broadcast. Plus, you can directly send us a message on social media during the show to let me know your thoughts. Many already do, and it's a great chat room for all of our great listeners. And you can always sign up for the Patreon site to get exclusive content, maybe hear show products before we air them on the radio, and a lot more. And when you support us on Patreon, you also help the show be able to fight for conservative values each and every day. day.
So it's a win-win.
Just find us at Hoosier Reason on all of your social media platforms, or you can find a link to all of our social media sites on our website at HoosierReason.com. We know you're on social media already, so bring some reason into your day. Why? Because it's kind of the reasonable thing to do. Miss part of the show? Don't worry about it. There's plenty of ways to catch the program, and here's how you can do it. First, make sure to tune in every day right here on your favorite radio station.
We're here for you.
Second, subscribe to the podcast on any of your favorite sites. YouTube and iTunes, Spotify and Google Play, TuneIn, Podbean, and more. Have the show automatically downloaded to your favorite device. Last, visit our website at HoosierReason.com. You can listen to the podcast, catch our special features, and more. It's the voice of reason on radio, TV, and online, helping you defend and preserve this great republic. Hey, it's Andy Hooser. Want to reach out to the show? A big part of the program is you, and we want to hear from you. Let us know your thoughts of the show, maybe a guest we've had on the program, or my favorite, when you disagree with something that I talk about. You can email me at HoosierMediaNetwork@gmail.com or send us a message through our website at HoosierReason.com. The show's not about me, it's about you. So be heard and be your own voice of reason. Again, email me at HoosierMediaNetwork@gmail.com or find our contact information at HoosierReason.com.
Oh, hi. You know, conservative messages now are more important than ever before. Election season, state legislative issues, and a rise in the radical left socialist progressive agenda. What we really need now more than ever before is knowledge and wisdom. That's where we come in. Hi, I'm Andy Hooser with the Voice of Reason, and I'm your voice for reasonable talk, conservative commentary, great guests and entertainment on radio, TV, and the internet. It's time to bring some common sense back into the discussion. National issues, state legislative issues, no matter where you may be, upcoming elections, and a heck of a lot more, we can bring traditional values, constitutional principles, and local activism back. And here's what you can do. First, follow us on all the social media platforms at Hoosier Reason. You can watch the live stream of the show, leave comments, and even call into the program. Second, make sure to subscribe to the podcast on all of your audio devices, from iTunes and Spotify to Google Play and TuneIn. Make sure to subscribe to have every episode automatically downloaded so you don't miss a single episode. Third, make sure to visit our website at HoosierReason.com. You can catch our monthly blog talking about deeper discussions, see who's coming on the program, plus you can sign up for our free monthly newsletter to catch the latest on the show, monthly topics, upcoming interviews, and more. It's time to be that local activist again. That's what the Voice of Reason's all about. Why? Because that's kind of the reasonable thing to do. And it's time for you to speak up, speak out, speak loud, speak proud, speak the truth, and always speak some reason. Hey, miss a show? Don't worry about it. You have plenty of opportunities to watch, listen, learn, and be entertained with the Voice of Reason anytime you want. And here's how you can do it. First, become a Hoosierholic by going to HoosierReason.com and signing up for the show newsletter to get the latest on the show, upcoming guests, topical discussions, and more. Next, subscribe to the podcast and have the show automatically downloaded to any platform you like to use. You can subscribe through any of your favorite platforms with iTunes and Spotify, Google Play and TuneIn, or you can also go and subscribe directly to our Podbean website. Last, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Just go to youtube.com, search Hoosier Reason, and subscribe to watch all of our shows, videos, and get notified whenever we're live. All the links and info are at HoosierReason.com. Hey, I hope you're enjoying the program today. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on any of your favorite podcasting sites and have the show automatically downloaded to your phone or computer every single day. Just find us on any podcasting site or go to HoosierReason.podbean.com. And be sure to check out our Patreon site, become the ultimate Hoosierholic, and help us fight for conservative values every day. Why? Because it's kind of the reasonable thing to do. Now back to the national broadcast of the Voice of Reason.
You're listening to the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
And welcome back into it. Appreciate you hanging out today on a Thursday, the way we do each and every day here on the Voice of Reason, no matter where you may be, radio, TV, live streaming, podcasting. We are all over the place, and thank you for listening to the show. And thanks again to Karyn Page coming on, Kansas Global Trade Services. I know they're based out of Kansas here, and other people not in Kansas, which we have so many podcast downloads outside of the state, and radio stations, by the way, too. And they're like, Andy, I don't really care about Kansas. Yeah, but they talk about trade internationally and businesses. And if you have a business, they're willing to work with you outside of just Kansas as well. So we appreciate their time and the great insight that they have when it comes to trade, when it comes to business, when it comes to the economy, when it comes to regulations, the tariffs. That's the kind of stuff that I think we need to know, especially as consumers. I mean, if you wonder why your prices are going up on a certain good, that's what we need to look at. We need to look at tariffs. We need to look at trade. We need to look at the regulations. Got to look at the prices of the raw materials, the production of it, the transportation of it. It's ridiculous how much goes into this, which, again, I think validates the point that socialism will never, ever, 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 ever work. Because socialism tries to micromanage everything. It's like that teacher that looked over your shoulder to watch every single thing you did. It's like the business owner that looks over their shoulder and makes sure that you do everything just the way they want it. It's the micromanagement, and you can't do that with everybody. And as simple as it is, or I guess as a simple product, as complex it is to make such a simple product like a pencil or a computer or a microphone or anything, to try and micromanage every single piece of the process, from the raw material to the manufacturing to the production of, to the transportation of, to the sale of it. You can't do it. It's just not possible. But yet that's what progressives want to do. And it's ridiculous. So we'll continue to have them on the program because I think it's extremely good information. But my question to you is, Kamala Harris spoke yesterday at the Democrat National Convention. The final night is tonight, which means Joe Biden is going to be speaking to formally accept his nomination for the presidential run for the Democrat Party in the 2020 presidential race. But Kamala Harris did it last night, and what do you think? Did she actually hit the home run she needed to in the biggest speech of her life, the biggest speech of her career? Did she do it? Was it successful? Because all I heard was a bunch of racist mumbo jumbo.
Virus touches us all. We got to be honest. It is not an equal opportunity offender. Black, Latino, and indigenous people are suffering and dying disproportionately. And this is not a coincidence. It is the effect of structural racism, of inequities in education and technology, healthcare and housing, job security and transportation, the injustice in reproductive and maternal health care, in the excessive use of force by police, and in our broader criminal justice system. This virus, it has no eyes, and yet it knows exactly how we see each other and how we treat each other.
So apparently the virus knows that we're all racist. Did you get that? Because that's what I got from that. The virus is apparently racist. We're all racist, and the virus sees that we're all racist. Now, this is after the first half of her speech. It was like a 20-minute speech. The first 10 minutes of it was her talking about her family and all the women in her life, and it, you know, obviously being the 100th anniversary of the 19th Amendment with women's suffrage. So, I mean, that's cool. Okay, include that in there. That's great. But then it was all about her family and all the women in her family, and then it was all about racism and bigotry. This is the woman, by the way, remember, that attacked Joe Biden for being a racist. And did she do that last night?
We must elect Joe Biden.
We must elect Joe Biden. Joe Biden. She had to really squeak that out there, didn't she? Joe Biden. She had to elect Joe Biden. Yeah.
We must elect a president who will bring something different, something better, and do the important work. A president who will bring all of us together, Black, white, Latino, Asian, indigenous, to achieve the future we collectively want.
Yeah, well, Joe Biden, what do you think of that one?
I want to be clear. I'm not going nuts.
All right, well, good to know. That was Kamala Harris. What do you think? Did she do it? No, I don't think she did. She bombed out big time. Democrats loved it, but, you know, hey, we just sit back and watch it. Did it appeal and broaden the horizon of the Democrats? Probably not. Podcast going up a little bit. That's it for us today. Tomorrow, don't miss it. Mark Lauder. He's the head communications director for the Trump campaign, plus our mock interview with Joe Biden. We have all that and more coming up on the show tomorrow for a Friday. I think the perfect way to wrap up the week. Until then, be your own voice of reason. It's time for you to speak up, speak out, speak loud, speak proud, speak the truth, and always speak some reason. Everybody have a great Thursday evening. Hey, it's Andy Hooser with the Voice of Reason. Fighting for conservative principles seems more difficult all the time. The progressive left seems to find new and creative ways to limit freedom, abuse power, and trample the Constitution each and every day. That's why we need the knowledge, resources, and common sense to push back, and we can help with that. Visit our website at HooserReason.com. There's some really great stuff for you. You can read the latest blog discussing topical issues and current events. Let us know your thoughts by filling out our monthly survey. Keep track of what I might be doing or where I may be speaking. Listen to the podcast of your favorite guest or show, and check out our latest Voice of Reason product infomercials. Plus, you can find upcoming show schedules and guest lineups to plan your radio listening appropriately. And finally, make sure to become a Hoosier-holic by subscribing to the free newsletter. Stay up to date on the latest news of the show, fun facts of the month, and learn new ways to defend and preserve this great republic. It's all there at HooserReason.com. Again, HooserReason.com. Go check it out. Why? Because it's kind of the reasonable thing to do.